What's going on, guys? I wanted to take a little break from the scheduling and other stuff to talk about something more important, and that is being prepared for your production. I've seen a few times recently where people got ready to shoot and it did not go well, and it took a lot of extra work to get them back to the place they needed to be. One of the worst things you can do is just be unprepared on the day of the shoot. It doesn't matter if you're the producer or the director or the cinematographer. If you're not prepared, you're blowing it for everybody. This is the reason we have production meetings. A production meeting is not meant for you as a producer to dictate to everybody what they're going to be doing. It is telling them what you need from them in this particular situation. The crew members know their job, so they don't need you to tell them how to do it. So an example of this would be the producer telling the gaffer how to set the lights, or a director telling an actor, just say the line like this. It's a recipe for disaster. And generally the response is, are you telling me how to do my job? Nobody likes that. Your cast and your crew is going to lose motivation to work with you, and they're going to give you the bare minimum if they feel like you don't respect what they're doing. So here's 5 tips that will hopefully make your production go smoother from the get-go. Work with people you trust and can get the job done. There's a huge difference between creative tension and creative difficulty. There's an old story about the Rolling Stones when they were first getting started. Their first manager had to lock Mick and Keith in a kitchen and said, don't come out until you write a song. They did not always see eye to eye. They tended to butt heads, but when they came together, they made magic. And the Rolling Stones have been doing what they do for 50 or 60 years. So there is some validity to having that tense creative work structure. A lot of you know that I work with Potato Jet regularly. We do a lot of productions together, and we definitely have creative tense moments where we're trying to figure out what the best way to proceed forward is, but we do it in a respectful manner. And although it might not look like it from the outside because of the way we talk to each other, we definitely have a mutual respect for each other that allows us to do things that we wouldn't be able to do on our own as individuals. This is very different than when a Hollywood director leaves a movie for creative differences. That meant that those people could not work together to fulfill the goal that they have. So like I said, creativity requires tension. Sometimes that'll be a spat or an argument, but it never results in somebody walking away angry for very long. So creativity requires that tension, and that is what's good about working with people that you know can get the job done. If you say, hey, I need it to be like this, and they say, well, we can't do it like that because... it gives you an opportunity to work together as a team to figure out the proper solution and get it done. This one is super important to me because I generally will see a production long before a lot of the crew. So I see it from a very different standpoint than somebody who just comes on the day of a shoot. I always say it like this: plan to plan, then execute the plan. And what I mean by this is I look at every new project as its own business venture. Every new business has individual needs and requirements that it takes to get it off the ground. That's why pre-production is so important, because it gives you as a producer the opportunity to take a step back and look at the whole project, from the initial meeting with the client, to writing the script, to setting the schedule, to planning the shoot, executing, and then post-production and delivery. You just want to be as far ahead of the curve as you can be. Don't sell yourself short just to get a project. This is a huge one. A lot of people do this. Somebody will buy a camera and they're willing to go in and work for the cheapest possible rate. Don't do that. It's only going to yield you more work than the amount of money is worth. I see it a lot. We regularly get production requests where somebody wants an Alexa camera and a known cinematographer, and expensive locations, but they don't have the budget to support what they want. And as a producer, it's up to you to explain to them that we can still create great content, we can still give you what you want, but it's not gonna be on those terms. And I know when you hear that, you're gonna think, well, I'm gonna lose the client. That is not always the case. Sometimes it will be the case. Sometimes that project will never get shot because they just are unrealistic. So one of the number one jobs as a creative producer is managing your client's expectations. On that same note, don't oversell your ability to do something. If your costs are gonna be too high to execute the initial concept, have a backup plan. Suggest a different camera. Suggest a smaller crew. Suggest an alternate location. These are all things that can bring you back within your budget and not lose you the client. You just have to be direct. It will never do you any good to promise something that can't be delivered within the initial concept. If you're gonna go over budget, let it be because the client wants to spend more money, not because you need to go back to the client and say, I screwed up. That will never work, and that means you will never work. Protect your margins. In a perfect world, everything goes right. The clock is our friend. We're not rushing. We're not getting backed up. We're not going overtime. In reality, the second your production begins, you're fighting the clock like a Game of Thrones battle. And when I say you're fighting the clock, this could be when you're shooting outdoors and you have to worry about the sun or weather, or now the garbage truck is gonna come through the neighborhood, or it could be you're limited on how much time you have inside a location. When I say protect your margins, I am referring to in terms of budget, because you do need a little bit of padding, but also protecting your margins in terms of time so that you get the coverage you need for all the shots that you have for that particular day. So if I were to sum up everything that I've given you here, I would say be prepared, have a plan for just about anything to go wrong, and then rely on the people that you've hired to do the job. So if I were to sum up everything that we've covered here, I would say be prepared, have a plan for just about everything that could go wrong, and then rely on those people who you've hired to do the job. I hope you're able to take some of these, and hopefully all of these, and apply them towards your next project and get your pre-production and your production process much smoother. I want to say thanks to all of those that have subscribed, and for everybody who's been leaving comments and trying to help me help you as much as possible. I'll be bringing a lot more content with regard to the phases of production, so stay tuned, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me the worst thing about me. I really enjoy hearing about that stuff. Subscribe if you haven't. Click like, that's even better. Tell a friend, and there you go. That's it.